You will never regret the times you opened your mouth to tell the truth. However, I can guarantee that you will regret all the times you closed your mouth to avoid being bothered. It is curious how the value of courage only increases with age, but the number of situations that require courage decreases. Perhaps life knows just where to hurt to keep us somewhat cautious. Repent early, and you will have a good story to tell on your deathbed. Regret late, and all you will be able to do is moan about how you should have done things differently. Young people want wisdom without experience, and old people have experience without energy. The tragedy of life is that when we have answers, we lose the questions. If there is one thing I have discovered, it is that opportunities do not knock on our door, they enter with a kick, and if you are not paying attention, they leave without ceremony. We are all born ignorant, but persistence in ignorance is a work of art of humanity, and unfortunately, one that few regret having perfected. To love, to forgive, and to accept the things we cannot change are lessons that, ironically, we only learn too late to make any difference in the dramas of life. It is not the sins that haunt us at night, but the times we said yes when we meant to say no. It seems that honesty with ourselves is the luxury of those who no longer have time to pretend. The truth is that the sins we commit are light baggage compared to the weight of the opportunities we let pass. After all, what hurts more? What we did or what we never had the courage to do? At 20, you believe that life is a stage. At 50, you realize that it is more like an abandoned theater. The secret is to enjoy the show while the curtain is still open. Before continuing, just check if you are already subscribed to this channel, because I am preparing a special series with the best quotes from Mark Twain to help you face life with more ease and purpose. There are 3 things a man always denies in life: his age, his mistakes, and the lessons that have served him the most. He only recognizes them when there is no one to listen. It's funny how we spend half our lives ignoring advice and the other half wishing we had taken it. Perhaps the greatest gift of youth is the foolishness of thinking that time will always be on our side. Some regrets are like tight shoes. You wear them all the time, but you only notice how uncomfortable they are when it's too late to change them. If you want to avoid regrets, try to live more like your dog. Party, eat what you like, and, for God's sake, rest when you feel the need. The greatest joke in life is that the things you are most afraid of losing are usually worthless, and you only realize this after you have spent your whole life fighting for them. The trouble with wise people is that they spend their time trying to find the answers, while fools go ahead and live without questions. We expect life to treat us fairly, but the truth is that it treats us like an old tavern. It takes whatever price it wants, and there's no point in complaining. I'd say death is a good teacher, but it's hard to take notes when the chalkboard only appears in the last chapter. The years have a funny way of revealing what really matters. Usually, it's the simple things you've always had within your reach and never took for granted. Face it, life's greatest trick is to make you think it's always too early to change, until it's too late to make a difference. There's a certain relief in realizing that perfection was never an option. The sad thing is that most people only realize this when they've spent half their lives trying to achieve it. If a man knew the value of time, he would spend less trying to impress others and more laughing at the little silly things that make life worth living. Age brings with it a kindness that the young do not understand. After all, it takes a long time to learn to forgive one's own foolishness. A wise man's greatest regret is to have spent too much time being sensible when he could have been happy. Prudence has its place, but it is seldom in youth. They say that youth is wasted on the young, but I would say that the real waste is maturity in the hands of those who have not learned from their youth. If you want honest advice, remember, life has a funny way of turning itself upside down when you finally think you've got it together. There's something deeply unfair about life. We spend our early years trying to please others and our later years trying to forgive ourselves for it. If regret really gave us wrinkles, most of us would be born old. It's only at the end that we realize that our aging face is actually a trophy of a life well lived. We expect wisdom to come with age, but it likes to come at the end of the party, when most people have gone and the music has stopped playing. Life is a ruthless teacher. It teaches us the best lessons only when we no longer have the time or patience to use them. If I could give myself one piece of advice, it would be, stop trying to win arguments and start gaining experiences. You'll be surprised at how much easier life becomes. There's no point in trying to explain that life is short to a young person. They'll only understand that when time makes a point of reminding them. Most of the things I was told to value I've lost, but the things I was told to ignore, those have remained as permanent marks in my memory. The problem with experience is that it's only recognized as valuable after you've gone through all the pain necessary to learn it. Life is a funny journey. You start out wanting control and end up grateful for having survived the detours. It's in the last quarter of your life that you finally understand. Happiness lies in the things you've spent your whole life neglecting. When we're young, we want to change the world. When we're old, we just want the world to leave us alone. Maturity is deep down a reconciliation with reality. Youth is a time when we believe we are invincible. Old age is the phase when we learn to value the simple fact that we are still here. The irony of life is that, while we struggle to prove our importance, it teaches us, with cruel calm, that peace lies in accepting our insignificance. If I could choose one thing to change, I would change the habit of waiting for the right moment. The best moments in life always come by surprise and are rarely planned. The best thing that time teaches us is that all the worries you have had in life are not worth half the peace you sacrificed for it. The sins we commit are like old friends. Eventually, we learn to live with them and even laugh at our own stupidities. A piece of advice I give for free: don't take life so seriously. If you make a mistake, at least you will have a good story to tell, and that is worth more than perfection. When the end comes, you will realize that what was worth it were not the peaceful days, but those in which you dared to leave your place and challenge your own fate. While you seek to be sure of everything, life laughs at you and slips through your fingers. Only those who learn to live with doubt understand the real value of being alive. Every time you say, "I'll do that someday," life chuckles and tears a page out of your calendar. There comes a time when time is short and the calendar is thin. If I could teach young people anything, I would say that success is not a matter of status, but of how many times you sleep in peace and wake up with a light soul. There are two types of people: those who live with courage and those who live with excuses. And I would say that, on your deathbed, excuses are terrible company. The more you try to explain what you should have done, the less you understand why you didn't do it. Life is simple. The problem is that we like to complicate things. Aging brings with it a subtle lesson. The best legacy we can leave behind are the memories of when we dared to be happy despite the hardships. If there is a secret to a life without regrets, it is in learning to live as if every decision were a gamble and every day an opportunity to lose fear. Life is a curious book. You spend the first chapters trying to understand the plot, the middle questioning the plot, and the end trying to justify the author's choices. The problem with good advice is that it is usually followed too late, when the only thing it can do is provide consolation. They say the secret to a life without regrets is to live each day as if it were your last. But the real secret is to live each day as if it were your first, full of possibilities and disasters waiting to happen. There are two types of losses in life: those you don't expect and those you cause. Both leave their mark, but it is with the latter that you learn to better measure your choices. The irony of life is that we spend more time fearing what might happen than enjoying what is actually happening. And then we complain about having lived a life full of anxiety. If I could give just one piece of advice, it would be: leave arrogance to fools and stay curious. The first one passes, the second one takes you where you never imagined. Let me tell you something important. The simple fact that you took the time to listen to these lessons already makes you the most intelligent and far ahead of most people. It doesn't matter how you listen to these quotes, whether you're washing the dishes, cleaning the house, exercising, or lying down for a moment of rest. If you are able to reflect, that's what matters. Tell me in the comments below, what are you doing while listening to these lessons? The older I get, the more I realize that wisdom is not about having answers, but about learning to laugh at your own questions. What I've learned is that what really counts in life is a good pair of shoes and a good dose of patience. Without both, life has a funny way of getting long and tiring. Anyone who has never dreamed of being someone has probably spent their lives trying to be someone else. And it is they who, in the end, wish they had been exactly who they were at the beginning. Young people ask questions that older people have learned to ignore. The secret of life may be to discover which questions are worth the effort of answering. The best thing we can leave behind is not a legacy, but the stories that others tell about us when we are not listening. If there is one thing that old age teaches us, it is that the only time well spent is the time that was not planned. The rest is just a sketch that fate alters as it pleases. Never forget, life takes its toll, and it doesn't offer discounts or extend deadlines. Every choice is a cash payment, with interest that we'll only understand later. Ultimately, no one really learns how to live until they realize that we all lose in the end. The victory is making the most of the time you have before the curtain closes. When you're young, the world seems huge and time seems infinite. When you get older, the world shrinks and time speeds up, but that's when you learn to value every second. I would say that youth is a parting gift, so vibrant that it makes us forget that we're just passing through. The greatest tragedy of growing old is realizing that your life has been. For the most part, a continual effort to win the approval of people who may no longer remember you. Regret is like a pair of socks that no longer fit, uncomfortable to wear, but hard to throw away. The secret is to find the right match before it's too late. They say the past can't be changed, but the truth is that it changes all the time in your mind. And the present, that's what you have, even though you spend half your life trying to escape it. The problem with the search for happiness is that it requires a dose of irresponsibility that most of us are not willing to experience. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that silence says more than any answer, and that words are often the curtain that hides the truth that no one wants to see. Those who seek perfection are the first to feel the weight of failure and the last to understand that imperfection is what makes life bearable. The secret to a full life is simple. Live in haste when opportunity comes and in stride when it leaves. When you finally understand life, it's too late to go back and correct mistakes. So the best thing is to laugh at each of them, because tears don't have much value in the scales of life. Young people believe in love and old people in friendship. Time teaches us that both are illusions, and what really matters is the ability to forgive the mistakes of others. Life is a joke that we understand too late when there is no longer time to laugh as we should. If I could, I would advise every person I met to give up trying to understand life and instead to enjoy the little it offers with fewer questions and more courage. The best thing I have ever done in my life was to learn to laugh at my own stupidity. Everything else is just a reminder that life never takes itself as seriously as we do. If you want to avoid regrets, try not to make promises, not to yourself, not to anyone else. Promises are like debts that are rarely worth the price. Those who are most successful are those who worry least about it. The true triumph is to sleep in peace and not have to count the steps left until the end. Life is a contract with no return clause, so choose carefully how you spend your time, because it is the only payment you do not get back. The secret to happiness is to learn to ignore the questions that time will never answer and smile at the answers it never gave. When we realize that life is not a rehearsal, we realize that we are already in the third act and that we have not rehearsed half of the lines. The best years of life are those in which we allow ourselves to live without knowing the answers. Everything that comes after is just an attempt to justify what we did not do. Those who have never lived to please anyone have nothing to regret. But few are those who can resist the temptation to impress a stranger. Youth is for the brave, maturity for the wise, and old age for the peaceful. The problem is that we spend half of our lives without knowing where we are. If there is one lesson that life teaches us, it is that the past is a foreign country and the future is a land where we will never set foot. Never underestimate the value of an ordinary day, because those are the ones you will remember when the great days have passed without leaving any great memories. As you grow older, the only certainty is that the value of things is never in what they cost, but in how much you sacrifice to get them. Leave the quote that impacted you the most in the comments below. I'll tell you my favorite from this video. It goes like this: the greatest tragedy of life is that we spend so much time waiting for the right moment to be happy, and it rarely comes when we think it should. The only thing we can control in life is the way we choose to react to what it gives us. The rest is just a series of coincidences and unforeseen events. If I could do it all over again, the only thing I would change is the amount of times I worried about nonsense and ignored the things that really mattered. True wisdom is learning to value what cannot be measured and to ignore what seems important in the eyes of others. The best thing we can do for ourselves is to laugh at our expectations, because life rarely takes them into account. If time heals all wounds, it is because memory wears out and we learn to value peace more than reason. Life is a show where the audience applauds at the wrong moments. And the only actor who understands the plot is the one who no longer cares about criticism. If I could give just one piece of advice to anyone, it would be: live as if you were about to leave, and love as if you weren't going to miss them. I've never seen anyone mourn on their deathbed for having laughed too much, but I've seen many regret not having made peace with their lives. Youth is a blank canvas. Old age is the frame. The problem is that we spend so much time trying to fill in the blanks that we forget to admire the painting. The bitterest regret is the one that you don't have time to fix, so try not to accumulate debts with your own heart. When we're young, we want freedom. When we're old, we want peace. And we spend our whole lives not knowing what to do with either. You know you're getting wise when fools stop annoying you and start seeming nice. After all, it takes a certain amount of courage to live without thinking too much. Life is made up of many beginnings and very few endings. When we finally understand that, the end seems much less frightening. Regret what you did, not what you didn't do. Because memory always has a way of romanticizing opportunities that never existed. If there were a formula for success, it would include laughing at your own misfortunes and ignoring the advice of those who have never experienced them. If you feel inspired and want to continue this journey of personal development, be sure to watch the other videos on the channel. Each new quote can be the boost you need to face your challenges with greater strength and clarity. As you reflect on these powerful quotes from Mark Twain, remember that wisdom is not just in hearing them, but in applying them to your daily life. How many times have you found yourself stuck in limiting thoughts or feeling like you weren't living your life to the fullest? Each of these quotes is a powerful insight to help you transform your mindset and live a more authentic and courageous life.